everyone. Welcome to At Home with Sally. I'm Sally Clarkson, and I have the biggest privilege in the world to be with so many friends from all over the world who join me every week to listen to my stories, inspiration, biblical encouragement, and I am just so glad that you're here today. Thanks so much for joining me. Hi, my friends. I'm so glad you joined me. I'm Sally Clarkson, and this is Tea Time Tuesday on Wednesday this week. As many of you know, and some people won't hear this for a while, I returned home from Oxford to home in Colorado. Both of them feel like homes to me. And I just came back last night, and I missed Tea Time Tuesday because I was traveling all day and couldn't prepare it. But I'm just so delighted to have you here. As always, I encourage you to get a cup of tea or coffee, to sit down, just to take a few minutes for yourself to rest and to renew. And I was realizing that when I started Tea Time Tuesday, because I get a lot of wonderful letters about it, I realized that I wanted to see if people would be interested in having a place where I could talk just about friendship and food and life and books and music and education and recipes, just to kind of have a place where people could get away to. And so a lot of people have said, how would you best describe tea time discipleship? And I'm not going to be talking about it a lot today. But I would say that after writing The Life-Giving Home, I got so many letters from people who said, I loved that, and that's what made me start Tea Time Tuesday. And also people said, I would love to know some of your recipes and have a tiny peek inside your home and to have more personal stories about how you shaped this life. And so I think that's what I would say my Tea Time discipleship is the most like Life-Giving Home or Life-Giving Table, except that it has so many pictures and stories and recipes. And so it is kind of a visual Tea Time Tuesday in a book. So that's my best answer for the moment. I'm going to be talking about it way too much and putting a lot out there about it because it's what one does when one is a writer and works with publishers. But anyway, I was thinking about that this week because actually I want to go to my notes. I was writing this down this morning in a quiet time, but it is so much fun to me. I think that it took years to perfect a place that reflected my heart, my philosophy, my rhythms, my values, to collect the artifacts that were important to our family. And since I've been home, since last night, it is probably the joy of my life to have built a life-giving home and to return to a place that so reflects who I feel like I am in my heart. And it is a welcome to me. I know that may seem funny to you, but I have worked so much in missions and so much traveling with conferences and teaching that to have time away in a missional situation where my house isn't my favorite and built-up life-giving home. It's wonderful in many ways, and it's not up to my ideals in many ways. But to return home after a period of time of not being in a place that said welcome to me made me think I want to write about it more, or I want to talk about it more, just to help you keep knowing. I think that the hardest part of when you have a house full of people and children and life, and it's a progression of immaturity to maturity, and you feel responsible for it all, and then things break and people fuss, and when there is chaos inside a home, a lot of times it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing anything. But as you keep going forward and pushing those rhythms into place and repeating the values and loving one another and eating those meals and talking about all that matters, it makes so much difference. To come back to a place of civility. I have to brag on Clay. Clay and I are different in so many ways, and tension always comes through broken people. But we have pushed and forged and squeezed and hammered, and through the years, just doing that, our traditions, our values, our rhythms, the things that we do for one another have become a stability that I never even knew. Like when I got home yesterday, there was a new box of my Yorkshire Gold tea, brand new, fresh. He had put raspberries and blueberries and fresh salad and all sorts of vegetables for a salad for me. He had bought me bread. He had bought me eggs and my favorite kind of milk for my tea. And he even got me some natural tostado chips. All of this he had ready for me, and he cleaned the house before I got home because we are partners, and we have learned this isn't the verbal part of marriage. This is the actual work part of marriage and the work part of home. And so when I came home, that's another reason why I felt embraced, because everything, even he lit candles for me last night, and he put on the music. It's because we've done it every night of our lives. When you practice something over and over again, it becomes a common value. My son Joel does it for me in Oxford. Sarah does it whenever she has someone over. Joy does it in her home. Nathan and Keelia do it. Anyway, all that to say, I don't think that I could always see what was happening when I was shaping and training and teaching and inspiring and feeling sometimes, don't feel bad for this. Sometimes I could be so depressed and have such dark times. The stretch through the seasons, the teenagers and the toddlers and all the different things. But I just wanted to say today, and I'll end my talk with it later on today, how very, very important your work is. It is the shaping of nations, and I'll read that to you later. But anyway, it is good to be home. It's good to I'll read some of this to you another time. But I just want you to know that the shaping of a people and a home matters so much. I wanted to tell you about some fun things today because I thought it would encourage you. But first of all, I have to tell you, everybody stop and listen. This is such a great quote, and it captures my heart, and it captures what I felt when I got home. P.G. Wodehouse. It's Wodehouse. It looks like Wodehouse, but I've heard it as P.G. Wodehouse my whole life. And this is what he said. The cup of tea on arrival at a country house is a thing which, as a rule, I particularly enjoy. I like the crackling logs, the shaded lights, the scent of buttered toast, the general atmosphere of leisured coziness. Leisured coziness. What a great phrase. And so this is the service that these rhythms and rituals and tea times do for us. It's not that the thing itself is the most important thing in the world, but it's the celebrating and the putting together of this beauty and comfort and warmth that wraps itself around you and embraces you and says, welcome. So anyway, now I want to tell you, his name was Sir Pelham Grenville Wodehouse. And he was born on October 1881, and he lived into February 1975. So the span of his life was Victorian era, no cars, no electricity, no lights, into space age and world wars. And so his life spanned such an important period of time. He was an English author and one of the most widely read humorists of the 20th century. And the reason that I love Wodehouse is because we need to laugh. We need to giggle. Oh my goodness, my family giggled and giggled over these particular books. His creations include the feather-brained Bertie Wooster and his sagacious valet, Jeeves. And of course, one of our favorite books, because he wrote many, many books, but one of the first books we ever read by Woodhouse was Right Ho, Jeeves. R-I-G-H-T, ho. Right ho, Jeeves. And I want to tell you a tiny little story about this. I believe giggling and laughter and fun is so important, especially as your children get older and they can understand it. Junior high, high school, they need to know you have a sense of humor. And my elementary school children got it too. But I remember that we read this book long ago when we were on a trip together. I think it was toward Asheville or something. But it just happened that at 9/11, Clay and I were on our 20th anniversary cruise trip. We had saved and saved for it. He said, I want to take you on a cruise. Well, it ends up that, like typical Clarkson story, as we landed in New York from Denver and to catch the boat that we were going to take through the fall and autumn leaves of the East Coast. But little did we know. And so as we were going on the boat out of the New York harbor, we saw the Twin Towers still intact, and we thought, this is going to be the best cruise. We feel so adult and so important, and we saved for this. And so to make a long story short, the next morning, I awakened, and Clay said, let's go to the, where we can dock here in Canada. We were in Canada, and then we were going to go back down the East Coast. And so he said, let's go and just explore the town a little bit. And as we got outside the boat and we kind of passed by, it was either a cafe or a bar, I can't remember what by now, but we looked in and all these people were crowded around the television. And we heard this man looked back at us, and he could tell we were Americans, and he started shaking his hand at us, and he said, come. Oh, awful, America. He was a French person trying to communicate with us. So we thought, oh, he doesn't know what's going on. There's nothing going on in America, or we would know about it. Finally, we went to the television that was standing up in the bar, cafe, whatever it was. And there it said that the Pentagon had been attacked, that the Twin Towers had been totally destroyed. And we were in shock. And so the next week of our trip, it was like a 5 or 6 day journey, all the ports were closed because they didn't want to allow any more people to come into the countries with the intention of blowing up a city or whatever. And so we weren't allowed to go to all the tourist places. We stayed in the boat for all those days, standing in long lines, trying to arrange a flight back to Colorado because all of the planes were grounded on the East Coast, and we needed to get back to our children. And a lot of people who were on the ship were from New York, and they were sobbing because their children had been working in the Twin Towers. And so it was kind of a nightmare. And the only movie that they played over and over and over again, because they took all suspense and mystery shows and murder shows off the televisions that were playing in the cruise, and the only movie they had repeatedly over and over again was Shrek. It was just kind of a nightmare. We finally did get off in Rhode Island and got to see some of the mansions for just a couple of hours. And anyway, we did get to see a couple of things for a couple of hours during the whole week, and finally we had made arrangements and found a ticket from Boston to Colorado Springs. It was the second flight out of Boston in the whole week. But all that to say, so my sweet brother was taking care of my children. He stayed with them for a week with the dog, and stayed with them so that we could have our little 20th anniversary. And he didn't know what to do, so he took them in the car on a trip to the mountains, and the whole way up and back, he played Right Ho, Jeeves, because he thought it would be a really fun and distraction of a time for them to hear about all of this humor. So Right Ho, Jeeves has a place in our lives. Anyway, he kind of has an interesting life. You might want to read about it sometime. He tells stories about golf, about different people traveling. There's a book that he wrote called Sally that somebody gave to me. But anyway, I think that you would enjoy getting some Wright Ho Jeeves or P.G. Wodehouse books into your home and be able to have a taste for some of what that was like. Okay, so another thing I wanted to tell you about is you can see in this picture, if you're looking at my Instagram or my blog post at sallyclarkson.com or Facebook, isn't this the most incredible, beautiful blue tea set you've ever seen in your life? Blue is one of my very favorite colors. It is my favorite color. And I saw this when I was walking through the Biltmore, which is basically the Biltmore is a home that that was built by George Vanderbilt. And George Vanderbilt was the grandson of the famed shipping entrepreneur and industrial Cornelius Commodore Vanderbilt. And he was in the line of a whole bunch of boys, a whole bunch of men who had all built their fortune on the railroad, and he had inherited a lot of it. And his brothers had all built these big houses in the Northeast. And he said, he was very close to his mother. He said, I want to go and make my own mark. So he went to Asheville, North Carolina, and he decided that he was going to build a place that would encompass the most beautiful artifacts, the most alluring rhythms, the most gorgeous gardens and farmland. And he wanted artists and musicians to come and to feel welcome there and to be able to follow their trade. And he was very humane and generous. He and his wife that he married, he didn't live long after he established it. He established Vanderbilt University. He established a church there, an Anglican church. And so it's one of my favorite places that I have visited, over the years. And it's nestled with 8,000 acres of pristine Blue Ridge Mountain beauty. It's a kind of a one-of-a-kind destination. It's like a palace, which is rare in the United States. And he had a conservatory, art exhibitions, a winery, shop venues. There are 20 miles of nature trails. And, of course, it's been developed since he built it in the 1890s. And it's, I think, in a weird sort of way, because I have walked the trails many, many times, and I've gone through the rooms, but it embodied to me what I pictured I wanted my home to be like: a place of purpose, a place of community, a place of friendship, a place of faith, a place of education. So I really loved it. And I was looking at the tea set, and the reason that I'm even talking about it today is because I've been thinking about the fact, and I might have mentioned this yesterday, but we live in a time, at the time when this gorgeous blue tea set would have been used, was a time in which there were no televisions, there were no telephones, telephones were just beginning to come in. There were no distractions. People had to communicate with people. People had to engage with people and in community and do things together. And so the whole purpose of this tea set was that it would bring all of these different people from all over the world together. And they had built these living rooms where they set all the chairs in circular places so that people could face one another. And they would take time every day during the day to be friends and to talk and to discuss great ideas and to read books and to play games. And so I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could have a whole day or at least an afternoon every week, where we spent the time bringing people together over a ritual that would cause them to become friends, that would cause them to have years of daily times together where their souls were enriched by the great conversations they were able to have with each other. So I was just thinking about how much I want to always keep simplifying some of my life to make room for relationships over the sacredness of time together, which I celebrate through tea times. And of course, I'm not saying this has anything to do with changing seasons or the celebrations we have for Christmas or Easter or our family day together, or does it in any way compare to my worship at church? No, it's not liturgy. It is just creating life in such a way that community and deep intelligence is shaped and formed and challenged, and deep faith is spoken about because you have this opportunity to celebrate every day. Anyway, all that to say, how could I look at a blue tea set and get all of that out of it? I don't know. I'm a little bit neurotic, aren't I? Okay, another thing that I wanted to share with you today. This is such a simple thing. I had a pretty busy week, but I thought, maybe even sometimes just the little things that I share might make sense to you for something that you would like to do in your home. But I am a real sandwich girl in that in the middle of the day, I don't have much time. And but something that really sustains me is sandwiches. I usually have a half a piece of bread of some kind, or even a half a piece of sourdough bread, which is smaller. And I always have pickles because they're so good for you, that all of the stuff that works in your gut, the vinegarish stuff. And I'll put an avocado or tomato, and then either an egg or some kind of a slice of turkey or chicken or something. But this week, and Joel made it for me, and we have it only once in a while because of all the, eating too much is not great for you. But we love to have tuna, and we chop up pickles and either walnuts or pecans. And then we toast dark sourdough bread that has seeds in it. And then we spread the tuna with the pickles and the walnuts, and we eat it, sometimes a slice of cheese. And just a little sandwich like that holds me for the whole day when I'm so busy and don't have a lot to do. So that's my advice for the week for food. All right. I do have something else that I wanted to tell you. I've been listening. I told Sarah that I was going to give her book to a friend of mine who needed it, This Beautiful Truth, which is kind of showing why beauty and the creation of God's hand and things like music and color and stars and touch and feel and taste, he wanted to wrap it around our lives so that we could see the metaphor of his reality. What does it mean when I say the metaphors of his reality? Well, if you look at snowflakes, he designed snowflakes to show about how much he valued diversity of food, diversity of personality, diversity of cultural celebrations of art and music and beauty. He designed the seasons to show us that life is full of a variety of journeys. Sometimes it's cold and dark, and sometimes it's prosperous and blooming, but that all of the seasons have a purpose in our lives. And I love nature, but I love even more what creation and being out in creation does for my faith. Because if I look at it as what does this teach me about God? Just the design of molecules and atoms shows his intricate design, his design of the eye, of our ears, of our hearts. How in the world we stay alive is an impossibility, but it shows the depths with which God cares about us. And so I'm going to recommend a documentary to you. And if you are someone, depending on what your views are of creation, and it varies greatly in the people that I work with in Oxford, you are responsible for reading about your particular philosophy of creation. But what I'm going to tell you is that the movie that I'm going to recommend to you is advantageous for all people just to stand back and go, oh my goodness, the world is an amazing place. And for me, it heightens my excitement about who God, my Creator, is. But I'm going to recommend to you today movie or a documentary series called Planet Earth. And it's a series about wildlife found on Earth. Each episode covers a different habitat. It covers deserts, mountains, oceans, seas, forests, caves, polar regions, freshwater plains, and jungles. And it's narrated by David Attenborough, who is in his 90s now and still producing these movies. But no matter what your philosophy is, for you to watch this movie with an objective eye to the magnificence of creation, I would just highly encourage you. If you're tired and you don't know what to do today and you can't possibly teach another thing, put on a documentary of Planet Earth, put on a cooking show, put on a geographical show, a travel show. But anyway, Planet Earth. And what I want you to do is tell me this week, leave a comment. What are some of your favorite documentaries that you have watched? It can be about history or geography or creation or whatever. Let's share with one another some of the best movies we've ever seen. All right, so I just wanted to end today. I still have to go out on a walk in the mountains with Darcy and Clay, and so I've got to end this eventually here. But I kind of just wanted to go through a little bit of a reminder of how deeply important motherhood is, the role of a mother that God created. She is a woman is a life giver. She has life growing in her womb. She bears life into the world. Mary bore Jesus into the world. It was a glory to her to bring to life the Son of God. We bring to life these little human beings, and I can still remember, and I thought I would read to you just a little bit from one of my writings. I can still remember how deeply I was affected, didn't know I would be. When I was in the hospital, Sarah was at the end of 22 hours of labor, was a forceps baby because I'm convinced the doctor didn't really know what he was doing. But anyway, they finally wrapped Sarah up, brought her to me, told me her not very good AGPAR score, which is the rate of, the situation your baby is found in when you have her, and she was in intensive care for a couple of days, but they gave me just a few seconds with her. And I was holding her, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was absolutely shocked. This is a human being. And so her little dark blue eyes, the color of blueberries, stared up intensely. She was totally quiet in the direction of my voice. She was looking for me. There were two large matching bruises on her forehead that gave her tiny little face a battered look. And she had dripping black strands of hair from coming through the birth canal. She had pearl white skin framing her face. And all of a sudden, at that moment, I was struck with the amazing newborn first child, Sarah, that I was holding. And as I've told you all before, at 31, I had never changed a diaper. I had never knew a mom who had nursed her children, had no idea what that was. I didn't even know how to hold her. But I was not expecting the overwhelming love and reverence for God and for babies and for the miracle of what had just happened when I thought I might lose her that would fill my heart the moment she arrived and was gently placed into my arms. And for a moment, I had her alone in this quiet that filled the room with Clay, and I was holding her gingerly so as not to harm her. And it was as though God whispered to me, "You are holding eternity in your arms. This little one is a miracle gift from me. Will you accept her as a gift and cherish her and love her so that when she grows up, she'll believe that I love her? Will you be responsible to shape and fill her mind with the very best stories so that she will always believe in heroes and become one herself? Will you whisper to her the secrets of my ways, teach her what is true and virtuous, give her a place to grow strong, a sanctuary for life in which to celebrate all that is good? so that she will fill the treasure chests of her own soul with the good and the true and the beautiful? Truly for me, this was a defining moment. In one brief twinkling of time, totally startling thoughts to me, the imagination of what shaping a place, a home, would be wrapped up in this little 7-pound gift that I was now committing to caring for, and any children else that I would receive from God, that I would be the conductor of life that shaped the potential locked inside her heart, soul, and mind. And I began to understand that I would be a conductor of life for this one that was born by God's design, dependent upon me and Clay, dependent on what guidance we gave, what love we gave, what direction we provided. And my friends, it's as true today as it was for me when I birthed my precious Sarah into the world. You are chosen. You are a chosen one to accept the gifts of your precious little human beings, to imprint on their lives. You are God's representative to them, that they might understand and believe in the truth of his reality because of how you live and how you shape place the rest of your life. I hope this has been an encouraging tea time discipleship for you. Be sure to order your copy of the book or get it for someone else. And know that I am feeling very grateful that I get to be a part of this wonderful community of people who cherish the value of human beings and family and home and life and faith. So let me pray for us. Dearest Father, dearest Heavenly Father, bless these precious, wonderful ones. Though they be weary, though they feel that they have failed, though they struggle through the different seasons of their lives, give them joy in the moment. Give them the ability to see the beautiful personalities and individual drives and loveliness of your creation by giving us life through these children. Be with those who have adopted children, Lord, that they might be to them the loving picture of you in their lives as well. Be with all of us who would embrace this calling and give us the strength, the friendship, the community, the courage, and the guidance that we need to follow your amazing way. Thank you for entrusting us by your divine wisdom with these precious ones, Lord. Bless and bless and bless my precious friends today. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen. Well, my friends, have a wonderful Tea Time Tuesday on Wednesday, and I'll be with you again soon. Bye-bye. I hope you've enjoyed our time together today and that you'll join me next week. Be sure to look for more inspiration on my blog at sallyclarkson.com. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.